Hi, I'm Maureen Fitzgerald, and I am the author of a book called Mission Possible, Creating a Mission for Work and Life. This is what the book looks like. And today I'm going to teach you how to identify your uniqueness. Now, in my book, I recommend 3 steps for creating your mission statement. First, creating a vision or a clarity about what you want to have accomplished in your life. Step 2, which is this step, is identify your uniqueness. And step 3 is actually craft a specific mission statement. The vision statement and the mission statement modules are on a different YouTube clip that you can watch. Today, I'm talking about identifying your uniqueness. Now, there's lots and lots of books, career books out there that help you identify what it is that makes you unique, and you can have skills and talents and abilities and likes and interests. And I have to tell you, when I was writing this book, I was a little bit overwhelmed by the number of books that went through the same types of exercises in developing what makes you unique. And the problem with many of them is they didn't go deep enough. So, for example, I write. That's one of my uniquenesses, but so is that many other people's uniqueness, and that I think same thing, speak same thing. So to identify your really critical, deep uniqueness, I think you have to try a few different approaches, and I'm going to suggest a few right now. But let me start by reading from my book. In order to align yourself with your vision of what you want to ultimately accomplish, you must have a fairly good idea about who you are and what motivates you. You must have an understanding of the skills and knowledge you possess, as well as the attitudes you bring to your work. I call this personal description your vessel. It is the equipment that has carried you through your life so far and will continue to carry you through your life. It consists of all your strengths and weaknesses and the personal tools that will help you reach your vision. There are 3 parts to identifying your unique vessel. Number 1, your assets. Number 2, your approach. And number 3, your ambitions. Now, I came up with this description of 3 parts, again, after reading so many books on careers and so on, realizing that many of the books focus exclusively on assets, what you bring to the table, essentially, without talking about your approach, and definitely not talking about your ambitions. So we'll get into each of those right now. One of the most useful ways to begin to think about what it makes you unique, I found, is creating a metaphor. And some people really struggle with this, but creating a personal metaphor, like I ask people, what could you imagine you might be, like a guitar? And then describing that in detail, like I love music, I find the artistic side of things very enjoyable. I'm portable, easy to get along with. And the metaphor is actually a sort of unconscious way of tapping what's really deep within inside of you. So even if somebody else picked a guitar, the way they would describe it might explain more about who they are and so on. So it's kind of a psychological tool that can help you sort of delve deeper into what makes you unique. The other way, I have a number of different methods to sort of dig out your uniqueness in my book, but the one I like the most actually is a very simple one, and that's take out a piece of paper and draw your lifeline on it. Now, it's not so simple as doing that. You draw a line from 0 to wherever you are now, and you actually have to start pinpointing things that you've done or accomplished or so on. But what you're trying to do is create a picture, so it looks like a beautiful picture. So you draw a house on it, you draw a little heart for the loves, and arrows for when you move, travels, or jobs, or people you met. And what emerges from that picture, if you spend an hour or so on it, is amazing, because it really helps you sort of identify what it is that excites you and keeps you going, and that's what unique about you. Like, one of the things that occurred to me is I had moved a lot, and people go, oh, that's not so good, but it is good because I love change, I love excitement, I love travel. So to not recognize that is an important part of my uniqueness would be wrong. The other thing is, every time I traveled, I went to a different university and took a different degree and met people. So I'm obviously very interested in learning. So those are actually two of my most critical pieces of my uniqueness. And you can begin to identify these. One of the things I recommend you do is work on it for an hour, fold it up, put it in your drawer, and come back to it again, and then look at it again and again, because it can become more robust as you do that. So this helps in identifying your uniqueness. The other thing is just focusing on your childhood. Some people have told me that they knew at 10 years old what they wanted to do, and I remember when I was 10, I wanted to be a teacher, but I thought that was because my grandma was a teacher, but clearly I should have listened to my calling, because now I love teaching. I love teaching. So in any event, okay, so we talked about assets, approach. I'll talk about approach in a minute, and ambitions. When I talk about approach, it's the particular way you make use of your assets. It's the way you do things, or the technique you employ when solving problems or dealing with people. Your approach depends to a large extent on your personal characteristics, but it's also driven to a large extent by your past experiences and influences. Now, what I do in my book is I actually list a number of approaches, because it seems sort of abstract to some people. So, for example, are you energetic? Are you independent? Are you organized? Are you practical? Are you reflective? Are you a risk taker? And so on. The approach is, I've written, I guess, 50 words that you can choose from. But what's interesting is I ask you to circle a few, and for each person, the combination is very unique in terms of understanding the approach you take. And then the last step, of course, is ambitions. And a lot of people talk about values and what you value and so on. I think it's a useful exercise to identify what you value. I sometimes find it boring, because we seem to value similar things. But when it comes to ambitions, it really brings values to a fine point, because it's the things that motivate you. I put for ambitions, ambition is the motivation you have to accomplish a task or goal. Your ambitions are complex, multifaceted, and personal. They are based on a significant degree on your needs, your wants, interests, desires, expectations, values, and attitudes. The motives underlying your ambitions are often competing internal values that tell you that certain things are more important than others. It may be different over time, but much of your motivation lasts for a lifetime. Motives are also impacted by critical life events such as death, illness, and trauma. And when you identify with this complex set of emotions, it'll shine a very clear light on the reasons why you have pursued certain things in your life. So in closing, in terms of trying to figure out what your uniqueness is, I pulled together the three parts: assets, what are your knowledge, your skills, your abilities, what you bring to it, using different ways of trying to dig that out, your approach, how you approach a particular situation, and your ambitions, why you want to make a difference, what's really motivating you, what are the things you value. So hopefully by going through all of that, you'll have a better sense about what your uniqueness is, and then you can move on to the next stage, which is crafting your own mission statement, which you'll find in a different video. Thank you very much for listening to this clip on how to identify your uniqueness. If you need more information, please go to www.maureenfitzgerald.com. I'd love to get your feedback. Thanks very much for listening today.